friends, it's the end of December, and that means taking stock. Taking stock and making lists of all the things you've done, all the things you want to do next year, and reflect on what happened the past year. The past year I've read 300 books, and I've made a selection of all the books that really stood out. That's a really easy way to select. I look at all the books that I've read, and if I can completely retell them without any hesitation, then I know these books stand out. But the problem is that I read in different languages. So that means that some of the wonderful books that I've read are not yet published in English. So, do I add them or not? So that's why I want to make 3 videos. This video is a top 10 of all the recent books that I've read in English. Those are published, almost every single one of them, in 2023, maybe 22 some, but very recent. And then I will make one that is more of a mix of classics and recent books. And then I will make a video that is more for my Dutchy friends, and those are the books that aren't yet available in English. If I really would make a top 10 of all the books I've read, not many English books would have made the list, if I'm honest. If you can read in several languages, your horizon becomes so much broader, and the wealth and the sheer volume of books you can read and discover is just a whole lot bigger. But anyway, it doesn't mean that the books I've read in English are less good, but some are just even better. Anyway, I made a selection. I made a top 10 of the best books that I've read in English. And the first book is a book that I have, but I can't find it. There are a couple that I can't find. I have a lot of books this year. I've acquired a lot of books this year, and I'm putting up new shelves, so it'll be easier to find them back. Anyway, get on with it. So the first book that I want to mention is Boulder by Eva Balthazar. I've read Boulder at the beginning of this year. It was, I think it won, I'm not sure. No, it hasn't won the Women's Prize for Fiction. And Boulder is a magnificent, magnificent story. It is by a Catalan writer. Boulder is the story of a lesbian woman with a nickname Boulder, and she was always very independent. She worked on boats as a sort of chef, but then finally she falls in love with a Swedish girl, and she moves in with that girl, and life is great until the Swedish girl wants a child and wants a family. And for Boulder, it is quite a challenging ask. It is not as easy for her. She is forced to think about her life and to think about what she really wants from it. And Boulder is fierceless and beautiful and tough and raw and poetic. It is a whirlwind, and I really enjoyed this read. For me, it blew me away. It was one of the first wow reads of the year, and it was an amazing read, and I'm really glad that I've read it, and you should too. The second book that I've read and that I really enjoyed is Mother Dead by Vigdis Hjorth. This was also longlisted, I believe, for the Women's Prize in Fiction. This is a wonderful story of mother-daughter love, and this is a story of a woman. She is now in her 40s. She is an artist, a painter, and she has left Sweden without leaving an address or whatever, without no means of contact, and so her parents couldn't get to her, her family couldn't reach her, nothing. She just vanished. And now she is famous and she wants to go back and she wants to see her mother again. But the mother is, she has moved on and she doesn't really want to see her again. And this is how she deals with it. It is a very raw book again, very emotional, but also very understandable from both sides. And I really enjoyed this book. It's beautiful. The next book is a French book. It's non-fiction. I've made no distinction between fiction and non-fiction because when a book is good, and whether it's fiction or non-fiction, it doesn't matter. So the next book is a French book. It's by Nastasia Martin, and it's called In the Eye of the Wild. It has the most horrific, horrible, horrendous cover of the world, but it is a really wonderful story. Oh, what a force of nature this woman is. So this is the story of a scientist, and Nastasia Martin, she does research, I believe geological research in Siberia, or very high up north. And she does research on a volcano, but that volcano is situated next to a military base. And one day she climbs the volcano, and on descending she is attacked by a bear. Luckily she survives it, but a whole piece of her face is just gone. It's completely gone. It takes a huge amount of effort to save her. She is brought to the military base where they think she is a spy, of course. But then that is rather quickly resolved. But she has to rehabilitate, and she has a lot of surgery in Siberia, I believe it is. And they did that rather well. But because Nastasia Martin is French, the French government wants her back. And they do everything to fly her over. And once she is back in France, in Paris, she is brought to a very high-end hospital, and there they think they can do things better than in Russia, which they don't, because they don't have any experiences with bear attacks. So yeah, she suffers a lot, and the whole journey that she has made from the attack till now is flabbergasting. It is a wonderful, wonderful read. If you want to read a book about a real-life fierce woman, read this book, In the Eye of the Wild by Nastasia Martin. Then I also read The Pole by John Maxwell Coetzee. Coetzee is a South African author. He is a former Nobel Prize winner, and this is his most vulnerable, delicate book today. And I was blown away by it. This is the story of a Polish musician who is at the end of his days, and it is so tender and heartbreaking, and he falls in love with a woman who isn't really interested in him, and when it's too late, she really learns to appreciate and love him. It is such a beautiful story. Normally, Coetzee is an author that makes you angry or annoyed or whatever. This one just breaks your heart. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The most elegant and generous Coetzee that I've ever read in my entire life. Isn't that true? My little squirrel. Oh, my little squirrel. Yeah, Vita. Come. Anyway, another book that was originally written in French but by a Japanese author is Our Fractured Soul by Akira Mizubayashi. Akira Mizubayashi is a Japanese author who fell in love with the French language a long time ago when he was a kid, and he started teaching French in Japan, and then he became a translator, and then he started writing in French. Fractured Soul is the most tender book I've ever read. So beautiful. It is the story of a young boy who we are in Tokyo in 1938. And it's the time where Japan attacks or already has invaded China. And the young boy's father is a musician, he is a violinist, and he invites a couple of his friends to play classical music, but Western classical music. But that is not allowed anymore, and especially because his friends are Chinese. They find a little place to rehearse, and he takes his son with him, and there's a raid, and they destroy his father's violin, and they take his father with him and the others. And the little boy sees everything happening from a closet where he is hiding. And then fast forward to his later years where he lives in France, and he has become a violin repairman. This is such a beautiful, beautiful story. Nobody talks about this wonderful, beautiful gem. I don't understand why people don't read this. This was for me one of the best books I've read this year. This is a masterpiece. Really beautiful, really gentle. Then another book is the most entertaining book that I've read, and that's All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. All the Sinners Bleed is another wonderful story. His previous book was also very popular. That was Razor Blade Tears. This is full of action. This is 100% entertainment. This is the story of a black cop in the Deep South. He is a sheriff there. There's a lot of racism, and there's a mass shooting in the school, and the most popular teacher has been killed, and by a young black man. So you can imagine all kinds of trouble that comes from that. What a book. I really, really enjoyed it. This is entertainment of value 100%. I loved it. I can really appreciate a book like that. Another book that I highly, highly, highly recommend, and I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, although it is magnificent. It's The Vas of Wilds by Lauren Groff. Oh, this book blew me away. I really was gasped once I finished this book. This is in my top 3 this year. Wonderful, wonderful book. So this is a story of settlers, a young woman who was raised in the workhouses in England, and she was kind of adopted, but it is not adopted. This is taken or sold to a widow who is remarried with a sort of a preacher, and he wants to preach in the new land, which is the States, and things go very badly there. People don't know how to survive there. There are a lot of attacks from the Native Americans, and she is on the run, and this is 2 weeks of running. You don't know, at the beginning you don't know why she is running, but you can imagine that it's not for something that she has misplaced or whatever, or she spilled the coffee or whatever. It's something really serious, and it is a wow book, absolutely wow. Another book that I highly, highly recommend is Maniac by Benjamin Labatut. He lives in Rotterdam, and he has written a story that just blew my mind. This is a story in 3 parts. The first part is about a man who works with Alan Turing. The second part is somebody who works together to create the atom bomb. And the third part is about artificial intelligence. But it really is about science and how far you should push it. It's not because you can make something or do something that you have to do it. It's about moral boundaries. Do you have to make a bomb that kills millions at a time? Or are you just happy that you have the knowledge and you can make it, but you won't because it's immoral? Same with artificial intelligence. Are you willing to do something that will endanger people just because you can and you have the intelligence to do so? So it's a question, it's a book that asks a lot of very important questions. And it's magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent. You must read it. Maniac, Benjamin Labatut. Another book that I read the last week, I knew I wanted to make the video like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks earlier, but I didn't because I felt that there was a lot more coming. So there were a lot of books that I wanted to read, and I'm glad I did. Another book that is worth mentioning is Northwoods by Daniel Mason. What a book this is, and what a cover. I really like this cover. It triggers you to take it, to read it. What a story. This is actually the history of the United States, but the main character in this book is a plot of land. And we start with settlers, a young couple that runs away from a sort of a cult, and they settle on that plot of land, and they build a little cabin there. And then the next chapter is a couple of generations later, and then the next chapter is another generation and another generation. And throughout the people who have lived on this plot of land, he basically tells the story of United States. He uses different tones of voices. He uses different writing styles. It is a feast. It is an absolute feast. You fly through this book. You want to read more and more and more. It never gets dull. It never gets tedious. It is wonderfully done. What a book. Bravo. If you have enjoyed Olga Raven's The Employees, you will definitely enjoy this book. This is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. Oh my God. You must read this. It is not as strange as The Employees, but still it is a fascinating read. So there are 6 people on the ESS, or ISS is orbit 16 times around the Earth per day. And it gives, but always not on the same route, but it just goes round and round, but they always see different sides of Earth. And the beauty of Earth has such an impact on them, and they see all things happening, and they see the droughts in Africa. They see the storms, the tropical storms and everything, and it makes them reflect on the beauty of Earth, on how we should take care of Earth, and about their friends and family who are on Earth. And it is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. I loved it. I really, really loved it. I highly recommend this book. And then, of course, a book that is very important to me. It came out in August, I believe, and it is Julian by Fleur Piretz. This is also non-fiction. It is the story of Julian and Fleur, who got married a couple of years ago, and they wanted to start doing an art project where they would get married in every country in the world where gay marriage is legal. I think there are now 32 countries where same-sex marriages are legal, and they wanted to marry in each one of them. After the 4th marriage, Julian becomes really ill and dies. And this is Fleur's way of telling their story and grasping the huge sadness that goes along with it. And this is a beautiful, beautiful story. I'm so glad that 3 Times Rebel dared to publish this book, because I think it's a book that everybody should read, and it's beautiful. If you have loved The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, you will absolutely love this one. Fleur is a really good author. She writes really beautiful prose, so yeah, you will be moved by this book, that's for sure. So yeah, this is my top 10. Well, actually, it's a top 11. And thank you for watching, and hope you come back for the next top 10 list. Bye-bye.